Hi guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to be making this little frog, which can be used, as you can see, as a headphone accessory, or you can use him as a bag charm. So this is just what he looks like. He's very nerdy, but so his legs can be adjustable. You can pull them longer, or yeah, and his little hands just hold on. So I think he's really cute. We're going to be making him together, and I'm going to be making him green, just with the scrap yarn that I have, because as you can see, he takes very little yarn. This is all you're going to be needing for today. I think you don't need any stuffing because of pulling the legs in and out will pull out the stuffing, and I wanted him to look a little flatter and not be stuffed anyways, so you don't need any stuffing. You just need your yarn, your 4mm crochet hook, a scissors, a yarn needle, some eyes, and a lighter. So let's get into it. So our first step is going to be, of course, making the frog. We're going to be starting with the head. Oh, I've been working with thread too much. I completely forget how to do this normally with yarn. So we're going to start off with our magic ring. I had the hardest time learning how to make a magic ring. So what you're going to do is you're going to have 2 fingers, works best for me, and you're going to loop it around in a counterclockwise motion. So that, let me do that again. 2 fingers, I'm gonna hold it here, and I'm gonna go counterclockwise around so that the end, the tail is here, and then I have 2 strings here. If you can see, it's just wrapped around like that. Take it and wrap it counterclockwise around, just like that. And then I'm gonna hold it. I like holding it tight here just to keep it under control. And then I'm gonna take my hook under the first one, hook onto the second one, pull it up like this, give it a little twist to hold it, and then we're gonna grab this other one, yarn over, and we're gonna chain 1 and pull it through that. So we have like a slip knot on here, but we also have this adjustable loop right here. That's always how I do it. I hope that makes sense. I'm gonna show you guys one more time because this was literally the hardest thing for me to learn. 2 fingers, counterclockwise around. You can hold it here with your thumb while you bring the tail around. Hold that with your thumb, and then your crochet hook under the first one, grab the second one, pull it up and twist it to make it a little loop. And then this is the part where I'm like, but no, you don't have to do that, just however works. Just grab the string or yarn over with the same one before and pull it through to chain 1. And then you should have your magic ring. We're gonna make 6 single crochets into a magic ring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We're going to close up our magic ring and then slip stitch back into our first single crochet. And slip stitch and then chain 1. Now we are going to increase in every stitch around. And to increase in every stitch around, that means we're going to be making 2 stitches in every single stitch around, which should get us from 6 stitches all the way to 12. And then we're going to slip stitch into our first single crochet to finish our round, and then chain 1. And we're going to just single crochet all the way around once in every stitch, keeping 12 stitches in our round. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And when you get your 12, you should have 1 stitch still left because this is your slip stitch, so it's not a stitch to work into. So we're just going to skip over that and slip stitch into our first single crochet for this round, and then chain 1, and we're ready for our next round. And now we're going to go ahead and make 2 more rounds of single crochets, keeping 12 stitches in our rounds. So I'm going to go ahead and finish the next 2 rounds like this, and then I will be right back and we will do the next step together. Okay, now for our next round, we're going to decrease 6 times to give us 6 stitches in a row. So a decrease is just pulling up a loop in one stitch, pulling up a loop in the second stitch so that you have 3 loops on your hook, and then yarning over and pulling through all 3 of them. And it's turning 2 stitches into 1. So that's my 3rd one. This is my 4th, 5, and 6. And then we're going to go ahead, not into the slip stitch, but into our first decrease, which is all the way over here. We're going to slip stitch into this one and chain 1. So now we're going to increase in every single stitch around to go back to 12. 1, 2, and an increase is making 2 single crochets, if I didn't say that before already. So this is 3, 4, and you should end up back with 12 stitches again. 11 and 12. And now we're going to slip stitch back into our first single crochet, chain 1, and then we're going to just make 1 single crochet in every stitch around, keeping 12 stitches in our round. And then at the end, we're going to slip stitch into our last single crochet and chain 1. And then for our next round, instead of increasing by 6s, we're going to be increasing by 3s. So we're going to single crochet into the first 3 stitches, and then into the 4th one, we're going to increase, which is making 2 single crochets into the 4th stitch. And then we're going to do that again. In the next 3, we just make 1 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, and then in the 4th single crochet here, we make an increase, which again is 2 single crochets. And then we do that one more time. 1, 2, 3, and then in the 4th one, and then in the 4th one, we make our last increase. And we slip stitch into our first single crochet and chain 1. And now for the next 2 rounds, we're just going to single crochet in every single stitch, keeping 15 in our round. So just make 1 single crochet in every stitch around for this round and then the next round, and then I will be right back and we will work on finishing up this body. All right, and then for our next round, we're going to make a single crochet in the first 3 stitches, and then over the next 2 we're going to decrease. And again, you pull up a loop in the first one, and then in the second one you pull up a loop so that you have 3 loops, yarn over and pull through all 3, and that's how you decrease. And we're going to do this another 2 times. Again, 1, 2, 3 single crochets and then a decrease over the next 2. And one more time. 1, 2, 3, and a decrease. And now you should have 12 stitches in your round. So again, we're going to slip stitch and chain 1, and then for our next round, we're going to make 2 single crochets, and then over the next 2 stitches, we're going to again make our decrease. 2 single crochets, followed by a decrease. 2 single crochets, and then a decrease. And this should take you down to 9 stitches in a round. And as you can tell, I am not stuffing the frog like I said before. I want it to be flat. And now over the next round, we're going to be making 1 single crochet and then a decrease, and that's going to get us down to 6 single crochets in a round. 1 single crochet and then a decrease. 1 single crochet and then a decrease. And then here we're just going to slip stitch back into our first stitch. This can be a little bit complicated when the rounds get so small. Don't worry about it because this is our last round. So you slip stitch into the first one, chain 1, and then pull it really tight to knot it. And we're going to leave a decent string. We're going to cut it. And then grab a yarn needle. Gonna just pull the yarn through there, and then we're gonna just pull the yarn through every single stitch. You can go through just the back loops, but I'm just gonna go through the whole loop, or the whole stitch, sorry. All the way around in a circle, and then I'm just gonna pull it tight to close it. Just pull it as tight as you have to get it as close as possible, and then you can just stick the yarn back through your frog like that, and then cut it off really close like that. And there you have the little body. So we're going to start them off with a magic ring as well, and we're going to make our magic ring. We're going to make 5 single crochets in a magic ring. So it's 2, 3, 4, 5. Pull it tight. And then go back and slip stitch into your first one. This is always the hardest part, because it's usually tight. Oh, that was actually surprisingly easy. Slip stitch in, fasten off, leave a nice long yarn for sewing, and that was literally it. And now I'm going to shape it a little bit more. I'm going to cut the center one off. I've pulled it really tight, and I'm going to cut it really short, because otherwise it's going to get in my way. So how I did this was probably not the smartest way of doing this. You can use like little googly eyes, but I only have these safety eyes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick it into the first, into like, well, I guess there's only one row, isn't there? And through the base of the stitch like this, and then you have something like this. But obviously this stalk is way too big, and the ends of these are made for melting, but usually after you stick the piece on, that's going to hold it, but I clearly don't have space for that on this pattern. So I'm just gonna be melting this down. Try not to burn yourself. And then you can just stick the hot melty part on there. And then that's what you have. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this a second time, and then I will be back and we will attach them. All right, now for sewing the eyes on, you pretty much just wanna find the placement for your eyes. I want mine a little further back on the head. And then what I usually do is stick my needle in there and then thread it, which is honestly probably a more complicated way than it would have to be, but you can even use a stitch marker, but I don't have that on hand right now. So I'm just going to go like that and pull it through. And what you can do if you do not, anyways, now we're just gonna attempt to sew these on to the best of our abilities. You can go only through the back loops if you want to, but I'm gonna try going through the whole stitches to sew it on until, of course, like the front where I put the eye in, I'm just gonna go through the bottom loop maybe. No, I'll just skip that one completely and then go up through the other one. There really is no wrong way to sew this on, just as long as it stays on and it doesn't look terrible, then you can say you've done it right. There's really no rhyme or rhythm, and that's pretty much how it goes with weaving in ends as well. If it doesn't look terrible and if it stays, you did it right. So, in the end, you just pull it back through the body and then snip that off. And there we go. We have our first eye attached. Now I'm gonna go ahead and put the other one on, and then we will make the legs. Okay, now that we have our nerdy little frog, we're gonna work on the legs. This is the other frog. This is my sample frog, and this is how I made his legs. So as you can see, I already cut them off, but what we're gonna do is we're just gonna stitch that together with like a loose stitch so that we can just easily separate it and cut it off if we want to. And then this is how you're gonna attach them to your bag or your headphones, whatever you choose to attach them to. We're gonna grab our green yarn. We're gonna start with a slip knot. And we're gonna chain 4. 2, 3, 4. And then we're gonna turn and skip the first chain. And we're going to slip stitch 1, 2, 3 times, and then we're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to slip stitch 1, 2, 3, and then slip stitch also back into the first one where we started, this second toe, 4, and then we're going to chain 4 again, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to slip stitch down again, 1, 2, 3, and then into the one that we started from as well, 4. And now we're going to chain 25, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and also for all the beginners out there, the way that I keep a constant tension so that my chains all look the same is take your hand over the pinky, underneath your the next 2 fingers, over your pointer, and then like this, and then you hold it, middle finger and thumb, and then, well, just with like a little bit tighter, a little bit closer, and then you can just chain and let it slide through your fingers, not too fast, but just at a nice speed with your hook, just letting your hook move the yarn, and then you have nice even chains. 22, 23, 24, 25. So once we have 25, we're gonna pull it up a little bit. And now we're going to figure out where we want our arms, or the legs, arms and legs. So I'm going to have the arms come out right here in this space. So I'm going to insert my hook here. This is also why I didn't stuff it, because having the legs moving through it would pull out stuffing, and that would be really, really annoying. And then down here, I don't want them all to come out of the bottom space, so I'm going to put it into the decrease right beside it. And then I'm just going to grab it like this and pull it through here and all the way out here, like that. And now, as you can see, this is going to be very annoying. So you can either work with your yarn through here, or you can guess how much you're going to need, which is what I like to do. I like to play it like that and then be very annoyed when I don't have enough. But this is probably going to be too much. I'm going to do that so that I look like I know what I'm doing. We're just going to pull that through. And then what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to undo my last chain because it got really tight pulling it through, and then I'm going to insert my hook, make one more chain like so, and then we're going to chain 3 times and slip stitch 1, 2, again skipping the first chain, and then slip stitching 2, and then slip stitch one more time into the 25th chain, and then we're going to chain 3, slip stitch into the second one, slip stitch into the first one at the base, and then slip stitch into the 25th one at the top of our other chain. And then we're going to chain 3 again, 1, 2, 3, skip the first one, slip stitch into the second one, slip stitch into the first one, and then slip stitch into the 25th again. And then we're also going to chain 1 and fasten off. And there we have the little legs. So now, what I like to do for these ends, oh wow, this one's very short. So what I'm going to do is, since I made this so short, is I'm going to stick my needle kind of where I'm going to weave my end in. Right, kind of in the base of all 3 toes. And then I'm gonna stick this in here and then just pull it through to weave it in a little bit. And you can also go down the leg, but I've always found that that is a little bit obvious, that you can kind of see it sticking out of there. So I'm just gonna cut it off here because that should be good. You can weave it back and forth if you want to, but that will be good enough for me because I'm not gonna be pulling on it or anything. So there we go. And then we're gonna do the same on this other foot, and then we're going to make another leg and then do the same thing that we did with this one. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish weaving this in and put the other leg in, and then I'll be right back. Oops. All right, so I finished my frog and put the last legs on, and this is what you should have. The cool thing about this frog is you can shorten or lengthen his legs however you want, which I think is kind of cute. But anyways, the way we're going to be attaching him, the way I like to do it so I don't have to buy any specific thread or anything, I just take, this one's a little bit long, but I just take a scrap piece of yarn and separate it so that I just have a thread until, yeah. And I just have one of these, and you're going to need a needle, which I'm just using my yarn needle that I used before. I'm going to show you how to attach it onto my pair of headphones. I just have this cheap pair. The way you attach him is, if you made his legs long enough to go up and over the whole thing, you can sew it on before, but I did not. So what I'm going to do is make it so his arms are going around here and put his two hands together. Well, actually, before I do that, I'm just going to thread my needle. And I'm going to put his two little hands together, and then I'm going to make one loose stitch connecting his hands. And I'm making it loose because I want to be able to see it and be able to cut it when I want to move him to somewhere else. Let's say I suddenly want to put him on my bag, then I can just cut it and then make a new stitch. And then I'm just going to tie it very loosely so that when I move his hands like this, I can see the stitch and I can see where I want to cut it so that I don't have to wreck my frog. And then just gonna cut it off like right by the knot as well. And remove that. And then he's attached and he'll just hang nicely right beside there. Okay, so it's a little bit hard to show you, but this is how it looks. Getting my light in the way, but that is how it looks when it's on. So he's just hanging there. All right, and I wanted to try and show you what it looks like as a bag attachment. It's hard to hold the light and get a good video at the same time. I just attached him to this project bag. It's a bouclair bag, but when he's on the handle, this is what he looks like, just hanging right there. It's a pretty simple pattern this time. I also made this one as my sampler, little red legs, which would look better if he had a green body, but I was considering making red hearts on his body, but I haven't actually done that yet. So there's a lot of different colors or different kinds of frogs you can make with this pattern. You can make extra long legs, whatever you want. Of course, it is customizable. And yeah, or put a bow on his head. So I hope you enjoyed this week's tutorial, and I hope I'll see you guys next time. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future tutorials. And if you have any other bag accessories like this that you'd like to see, you can comment it below and I will figure out a pattern for you if you would like. But yeah, that's it for this week's video. I'll see you guys next time. I was gonna say something important, I'm pretty sure. I don't remember what it was, so it mustn't have been important.